How's it going, guys? Welcome back. It's been a hot minute since I've been here. I just haven't had the time, and a lack of C's have it's made it really hard for me to go live lately. But I decided to go live because there's been a lot of interesting stories going out there. A few that have caught my attention recently. So, with that being said, please make sure to click that like button as it helps me in the algorithm. Any support really helps. Also, what was I gonna say? If you're replay gang, do the same. So with that being said, let's get underway with the new episode and let's go from there. So two interesting stories that caught my attention. The first is a story that happened in Norfolk, Virginia. There was a situation where they're calling it something trendy. I believe they're calling it teen takeovers. Now, I'm not sure when these events take place. I'm guessing they most likely take place around the summertime or close to the summertime as we're close to summer. And I'm assuming this was a teen takeover, but they said that there were also adults around the area. So take that what you will, but there is this trend of teen takeovers taking place. Basically, a teen takeover is where a lot of teens get together in a specific area and they just basically, well, in their words, right? I'm going to say in their words, they probably say, uh, shoot the shit, if you will. And that's how they perceive it. That's how they interpret it. But in reality, there's a lot of mess that goes on. For starters, this situation in Norfolk, Virginia. What happened here is essentially a lot of teens, there may have been adults as well, but a lot of teens got together and they went to this street by the name of West Guest Street. I believe that's the name. West Guest is the name of the street. So what happened is essentially there were several teenagers using weapons. One of them used a flamethrower. Others used gasoline. They were pouring gasoline on the street, and one of them had a flamethrower, and I'm assuming he was also putting, like using the flamethrower on top of the gasoline as it spread all over the street. And they were all hollering to the top of their lungs. On top of it, they were also doing donuts. There was a car there doing donuts, and I believe they had a Pakistan flag. I don't know exactly what flag they had, but they had a flag that did not resemble the US flag. That's all I can say about that specific situation. And essentially, there was a lot of noise and disturbance going on. It took police at least 20 minutes to get there. So it took police 20 minutes for these kids to just, disperse out so that they wouldn't get caught. But eventually, one of them was caught um, by the name of Isaiah Duncan Simons. And he was, I'm assuming, the one who was responsible, and this is alleged, but I'm going to go on a limb and say this guy who was caught was most likely the guy responsible for the flamethrower used that night, which This guy has been charged with disorderly conduct and damaging property by fire. Now, the reason why I don't say he's the one with the flamethrower is because they didn't list it. So I have to be careful with the way I share the story. So that's essentially what happened there. Uh, it was just a complete mess. And if this is what's happening now, where teen takeovers are an actual trend, then they're going to have to be harsh on curfews. And they're also going to be, there's going to have to be something that takes place eventually where there's a law that passed eventually where if your son or daughter is part of these teen takeovers, then you are liable as a result of it. Because if not, then these teen takeovers are going to get out of control. They're going to damage property, and they're not going to be mindful of the consequences of their actions. Because we live in an era where soft parenting has enabled most of these kids or some of these kids, I don't know even know what word I want to use, some of these kids to do as they please, to damage property, to use weapons and destroy property without really being mindful of how that can jeopardize them in the long run, while being mindful of the people that may get hurt in the crossfire. But, teens are built and wired differently, so they don't really think about the consequences. And I get it, some people are just bound to make mistakes. But the issue is these mistakes aren't being checked properly. It's almost as if, okay, well, they're young, and it's basically sort of like a green flag for them to carry on. But even if they are young, they should know something, the bare minimum, which is do not pour gasoline on the streets. Do not use a flamethrower to ignite the gasoline. At the very least, they should know that much. But, some people will do whatever regardless of the consequence. And that's just why I said this soft parenting era just needs to stop. Parents need to stop being their children's best friend, and they need to just implement some sort of just, like structure into these kids' lives. So, eventually they don't find themselves behind bars, because that's what's happening most of the time these days. The kids basically let children, um, basically have their own autonomy without restraints in place. So basically, a kid can do as they please, which is fine to an extent when they're growing up. But if there are no restraints, no consequences, then these kids will think they can just burn up a street and nothing should apply to them, because their minds aren't wired to fear consequences. Their minds are wired to believe they are entitled to do as they please. And that's the result of the soft parenting that's taking place, which is just hideous. Maybe when you first become a parent, you may think it's cool and hip to be a soft parent, where you just enable your child because you just want to be seen as the cool parent. And the best way to do it is by being their friend. And I won't say there's anything wrong with being your child's friend. But the problem is that friendly role that you seek with your child during their formative years should be mostly reserved once they actually grow up. Once they are, I don't have a specific age, but not when they are, single digits old, or once they reach their teens. You can be a good parent without being strict all the time. But if there's no reprimand whatsoever, then these kids will think that they're too above the consequences, that they should be pitied once they make the mistake. And that's the problem. You should not be pitied once you make a mistake. The pity shouldn't even be a part of the conversation at that point. But this is how kids think these days. They think that once they do something wrong, that's when you need to have pity on them. And yes, mistakes can be forgiven, right? There are some mistakes that can be forgiven easily, but it shouldn't always be treated with pity, meaning you shouldn't treat a situation with pity if the situation doesn't call for it. If you willingly had the choice to control the situation, but you chose to be reckless instead, pity should not be part of the conversation. So it just upsets me that these parents, I don't know what world they live in. I'm not going to sit here and say being a parent is easy. Sometimes you don't really know what to do. But the problem with these parents isn't that they can't, that they're bad people. The problem with some of these parents is that they're just into this soft parenting era, which is be your child's friend and be cool with them as if you are part of your child's age group. And this is what really creates this sense of entitlement because you want to be, hip and cool in your child's eyes. But then what that's doing is it's just making you act as a overgrown adolescent. So then once that happens, how can structure take place in the home when there are two adolescents instead of a grown up teaching an adolescent how to be an adult? But sometimes when you have these conversations, it's easier said than done because some people just don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear what makes them feel good. And that is they only feel good once they can avoid the responsibility of having that conversation and carrying on as they please. But that's essentially what happened with this specific situation, Norfolk, Virginia. Very tragic situation, and I don't know exactly how long these people are going to be charged. This person, Isaiah Duncan Simons, is going to be charged. How long he'll be in the pokey, if he actually will be in prison. But that's essentially what happened. There might be more people incarcerated later on. The investigation may not be fully over, but I will have to double check. The next story is Plainfield, Chicago. So I don't know exactly what took place, but there was a large gathering around 3 a.m. when this took place. Now, the gathering, I don't know the exact time it took place, but it was very early in the morning. And what happened is essentially we had the situation where police were on foot and they were trying to get to disperse the crowd and basically tell the crowd, hey, it's time to leave. It's 3 a.m. You really shouldn't be here at this time. I don't know exactly if the crowd was celebrating Memorial Day or if they were doing something completely different, but the police were there. And chances are this may have been another teen takeover, but I believe there were also adults there, so I can't say that as a matter of fact, but I can say the person responsible was just fresh out of being a teen. And basically what happened is in Plainfield, Chicago, there was this young man by the name of Rashad Johnson, 18 years old. And I don't know what is going on with people's minds that once they're like in their once they reach their teens, like early adult years, they just ruin their lives in one fell swoop. Because Rashad Johnson, I don't know what he was thinking or what he was going through personally, but he was not in his right frame of mind. Because what happened is once the police were there and they were trying to tell the people on foot to go back home, this guy essentially, uh, just was driving his blue sedan, and eventually his blue sedan collided with five officers. Now, lucky for him, the five officers were alive and nothing serious happened to them. They were all in fair and stable conditions. But now he has been hit with a litany of charges. And basically, it's just incredible. The large gathering, of course, took place in South Loomis Street very early in the morning. I don't know how long um, the length of the gathering, whether how long has been by that point, when it actually started. But when the accident took place, it was I believe it was 3:20, and the rest of the crowd probably dispersed around 4, from what I remember reading. So it just gets interesting because he hits 5 police officers with a blue sedan, and then, of course, the sedan struck a police car, a pole, and a fence. And then police officers actually discovered a gun inside the vehicle. So no one knows these days if this kid had any intentions to use that gun or not. I don't know if they'll charge him for anything regarding the gun, but essentially that's what happened. He was caught, and now he's been hit with a litany of charges, as I said, stemming from five attempted first degrees, 5 felony counts of aggravated battery with the use of a deadly weapon, 2 felony counts of unlawful use of a weapon, and then 1 felony of criminal, what is it, damage to a property of less than $500. I hope that this person, Rashad Johnson, doesn't face a light sentence, because not only do we have the soft parenting era, but we also have the soft crime era where these people, regardless of their ages, but especially the people who are young that commit these crimes, they get a slap on the wrist. And then they get these, what is it, this good behavior nonsense where if you behave good, you get extra credit, and it just sort of lowers your sentencing. Uh, there shouldn't be good behavior for nothing, because how can you attach good behavior to a crime that was done to a victim? That never made any sense to me. Uh, but I am hoping that this kid faces a long prison stint, not something where it's like, oh well, 15 years you're out. It needs to be at the very least 25 to 40 years. And I'm probably being soft myself here, but of course, it's hard to be harsh when the justice system is soft on these criminals as well. Hi, Binky. How's it going? How's your day? I have to also speak about eventually, I'll probably do a separate video for this girl, and I wish I remember her name. Uh, she was the one responsible, I believe, for the crash. If you remember the crash, I believe they did a series about it, and she was just recently sentenced. Now, I don't remember the girl's name, but she was the one responsible for driving, and I believe she hit a wall with 2 passengers, and I believe one of them was her boyfriend. Oh, that's great, Binky. I'm glad that you're able to relax now, and I hope that you've been having a good day so far. So that girl, I believe her sentence, I don't know, something bothered me about this girl. She even said something about how she wanted her license instead of going to jail. She said she wanted her license suspended, I believe, for 10, suspend her license for 10 years instead of going to jail for the murder of 2 people. That's how insane she is. That's how insane some of these kids are. They think, you know what, I can end someone's life. And apparently in their minds they think, and I should not face anything. Maybe like a fine, a small fine, my driver's license suspended. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. And she recently got sentenced, Binky. And I'm probably going to make a video about it soon. I haven't kept track of it in comparison to other people, but I know a little bit about her, about the fact that she was just a toxic girlfriend. And apparently, one of her motives was that she uh, got into an argument with a boyfriend, and that eventually it all trickled down because she was afraid of him breaking up with her. And so and eventually it led to that situation where she was driving and she hit a building. She hit a building, and then the boyfriend and someone else unfortunately were deceased as a result of the impact, which is a very tragic situation when you think about it. But there was something, and I don't remember word for word what the judge said, but there was something where I believe, and I could be wrong, I have to double check, but I believe hearing something about how she might be credited for good behavior or something. And the look on her face when that was announced by the judge, if I remember correctly, I was just like gagged. Because she did get back-to-back sentences, and the judge said that I don't see a future where you leave jail. Like, you're gonna spend the rest of your life behind jail. But of course, they give these parole hearings after certain amount of years go by, and I don't fully know if she will spend the rest of her life in jail. She should spend the rest of her life in jail. 2 people passed away as a result of it. She's gonna be serving both of her sentences back to back. Well, yeah, I think I saw that video as well. It was crazy though. It was truly crazy. And I don't want to sound harsh, because it's easy for people to interpret it like I'm being mean towards people in general. So I don't want to generalize it. But she should have joined them. And I'm not gonna feel bad for her. She should have joined them. They shouldn't have lost their lives because of her. She should have, if they were gonna pass away because of her stunt that day, she should have joined them. She should have been 6 feet under, just as they are now 6 feet under because of her. Hey Navajo, how are you, love? And I need to do a video about this girl. Um, I wish I remember, but my mind doesn't work as well as it should these days. Um, I wish I knew the name of this girl because I always keep forgetting it. But I'm gonna do a video about this um verdict with this girl that was responsible. I believe this now, Binky, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This took place in 2022, right? This accident. Oh, the third party. Are you talking about the second guy who was in the vehicle that day? Oh, that sounds relaxing, Navajo. I could use a beach day myself. Okay, okay. I believe this crash took place in 2022, but I'm always capable of being wrong. This accident has to be a few years old at the very least. I know this isn't a new accident. It either happened 2022 or it happened somewhere in 2023. You could help me here, Binky. I don't know. Was he a friend of the of the of the girl's boyfriend, or was he just like a complete, I don't know, like an acquaintance or something? I don't know specifically everything about this case. I know that it's a few years old. I know there was a dash cam showing her driving, I believe it was what, over 100 miles per hour? And then eventually she hit a wall of a building, and then both of them, not her, both of the other guys who were with her passed away. I don't know how that girl survived though. It was just like God, the angels just go quickly to heaven while the demons stay on earth. Because I swear that girl is a demon. And I don't like to speak about that, especially about females. But that girl is a walking demon, walking and breathing demon. I know it was over 100. I don't know the exact mile, like if 101, 102, but I know that it was at least 100 miles when she drove and hit that wall. It's crazy when you think about it. And the craziest part, because I didn't see the whole, what was it, like 40, 45, 50 minutes of the deliberation? I don't know if it was longer, but I saw a video of it, and it was at least 45, 50 minutes. I saw a snippet of it, or a little snippet here and there, but I did catch the end of it when the judge deliberated. And what I couldn't believe was, this girl's gonna serve, right? But you know how they always do this thing, right? Where instead of just saying you're gonna serve life in prison, they say, oh, you're gonna serve 15 to life, 25 to life, all that mumbo jumbo nonsense. Instead of just saying, you know what, you just they shouldn't even spell out the numbers. They should just say, you know what, bitch, you're gonna rot in jail. That's exactly what they should say. If I was a judge, I would say, you know what, bitch, you're gonna rot in jail for the crime you committed that day. And I know that sounds unprofessional, slightly unethical, but this whole soft, like, oh, 15 to life, what is that nonsense? You should just serve the full amount. which is life in prison without parole. I'm also tired of this parole nonsense. There shouldn't be parole for anything. For some of these crimes, maybe if we're talking about, something financial, something where the victim didn't perish, sure. But if it's someone losing their lives, it should be life in prison without parole. Not this whole. I'm telling you, people are now just walking away, literally. They're walking away free within 15, 20, 25 years just for taking someone's life. Well, Binky, you probably know way more than me. I do these videos because it keeps me invested in the world, and this way is my way of immersing myself in different types of stories, different types of subjects. So for me, it's as much as an educational process as anyone who's watching. But what I will say is what I didn't enjoy about that girl is how once the judge gave her her sentence, she said something, and I wish I remember word for word what the judge said. But she said something about how she might be credited for good behavior. And that's pretty much when my jaw just dropped to the ground. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? What are we talking about here? Credited for good behavior? What? And I could tell you she was grinning from ear to ear when the judge said she might be credited for good behavior. She was grinning from ear to ear. When she got the sentence, you could tell her soul left that courtroom. But once the judge said you might be credited for good behavior, that's when she smiled from ear to ear. I mean, I couldn't believe it, honestly. When I saw that, I just couldn't believe it. But this is the same girl who said that at the very least, instead of going to jail, she should just get her license suspended for 10 years for, you know, committing literally a double homicide. Oh, okay. Well, just suspend my license for 10 years. I mean, there's that saying, if you do the time, do the crime. This time maybe they should just change that saying. If you do the crime, essentially just be ready to wear that jumpsuit. If you do the crime, you wear the jumpsuit. There we go. Or like if you do the time, you do the crime, and then you wear that jumpsuit with pride. That's essentially how it should go. So that these people get the idea that, hey, you're going to end up in jail whenever you commit this crime. So before you do it, think twice about your actions towards that person. Because these people just get slightly upset and then they think that's just grounds for terminating someone. It's just, especially over a breakup. You literally press your foot against the pedal because a guy just doesn't want to be with you anymore. Well, think about it this way. uh, Females getting rejected happens, but imagine how often it happens towards a guy. A guy gets rejected left and right. Not only in reality when you're talking to someone face to face, but even when they do their profiles on these different apps, they get rejected 10 times more than an average girl. And they have no choice but to accept it and go on. And some of these girls, they get rejected once or twice, and then they think, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna press the pedal to the metal and just crash that building without a second thought. It's just the fragility of some of these people. I just don't get it. I mean, I guess I just try to tough it out as much as I can, and I try not to let people get to me to that extent. I have feelings. I get hurt just like anyone. But some of these people just react. They don't even think. They just react, and then they worry about the consequences once they do the deed. That's the most backwards logic I've ever seen from people. They think about the consequences once they do the deed. It's just like, well, that should be the first thing that should cross your mind before you do the deed. But some people, I guess, are wired differently, and you have to take that into account. But the most craziest part is this whole, what is it, being credited for good behavior, being offered parole, and what else? Oh, the mental insanity card. Oh my God, that one is what is also enabling people to commit these crimes. Because once they do something out of line and out of pocket, they want to plead insanity. I mean, that should not even be literally allowed. It should be allowed under very rare circumstances. If that person has a long rap sheet, I'm talking about long as the Nile River long. And then maybe you can say, well, we're pleading for insanity because this person just has no hope, no brain, no hope, no future. Oh, Binky, oh my God. You know why I couldn't watch it? And the saddest part is I'm gonna have to watch it, but you know why I couldn't watch that court hearing? I just couldn't watch it because something about her, how she looks, her expressions. Oh my God. The longer I saw her, the more I felt that I was just boiling up inside. I was like, oh, like a volcano was about to erupt within me. I just couldn't stand looking at her. I was like, this girl really thinks, as she sits on trial, that she deserves leniency. I mean, I know we're all selfish and entitled to an extent, but this girl is still acting this way. There was just no remorse in her eyes. There was just n- nothing redeemable when she expressed herself. Nothing. There was just this girl is just. I don't even know what psychological term to use, but she's a sociopath through and through. It it just it's crazy. Because if I was her and I was responsible for crashing my vehicle into a building and it costs the lives of two people, I'm not going to sit there all jolly and all unaware. I'm going to be like biting my fingernails. I'm going to cry. I'm going to lose my marbles. I'm not going to sit there, look pretty and unaware. That's how she looked. She was pretty. Well, actually, pretty stupid and unaware. That's the word I would use. Pretty stupid and unaware. But I mean, that's just how she rolls. So it's sad and unfortunate, but these things tend to happen. So I'm gonna have to do a video later on about her and see where it goes. But in the meantime, I guess I'll just log off for now. And thanks for everyone who watched with me as I streamed. And I will see you guys later with a brand new stream, hopefully within the week or so. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoy your Friday. You have a wonderful day.